We're live. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Traders Journal. Just quickly doing some sound checks. All looks good. Okay. Great. Well, look, welcome to the Traders Journal again. My name is Marisa. I am here every Wednesday, 8 p.m. London time. And today we are talking about why most traders are stuck and how to fix it. So today we're going to talk about the two journeys that a trader needs to go on. And they go hand in hand, so the one supports the other, and they work in parallel, so you can do them at the same time. And you need to do them at the same time because you want to be trading while you're improving, while you're going on these journeys, and doing these in parallel allows you to do that, right? Okay, so let's just recap. So this is week 3 of why most traders are stuck. So my belief, 100%, is that traders don't fail. They are just stuck. And unfortunately, most traders quit before they actually figure it out, because just figuring out why you're stuck, why you're not becoming profitable, why it's not working for you is a whole thing in itself. And unfortunately, a lot of traders never figure it out. Now, we've all, I can only speak from my own experience, but also I know that every trader goes through this, and most traders are stuck in this situation. But we've all been at that point where you've spent the time at the charts, you've studied your strategy, you've probably studied multiple strategies, you've gone around all the shops, you've tried paid signals, you've tried strategy lessons, you've joined groups, you've joined mentorships, and you always end up back in the same spot, which is unprofitable. Maybe you have some wins. I certainly got to a point where I started getting some wins, but I'd always undo it. I always ended up back at the same spot. And when you're doing that, you need to find a point. Everyone has their own point where you're just like, either you quit, unfortunately, or you just go, okay, enough's enough. I need to figure this out for real, because I can't. The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. When you always end up back at the blown another account, lost all my profits, you're always back at the same spot. You've got to just be like, I'm missing something. There's a turn off that I'm just not taking. Okay, this is the turn off. And in fact, you've taken the turn off 2 weeks ago, because we're into this topic and you now understand why you're stuck. Now, my own realization, before I became a full-time trader, I was working in the corporate world. I worked in regulatory compliance for investment banks in London. There was nothing wrong with my job. It was a great job. It was a great career. I was paid really well. What I hated was I was stuck in in kind of golden handcuffs in a way. They weren't that golden, but I always had to commute to an office. I always had a boss. I was stuck always having to make other people happy so that they could promote you. I just hated that feeling of being trapped. And I had wanted freedom, so time freedom, to be my own, boss, but just work for myself. I'd wanted that for such a long time, and my journey had just led me to, I didn't know how to do that until I found trading. But then I got stuck in this cycle, and I'd believed that if you study something hard enough, if you spend enough time learning something, and I'd spent all my spare time, nights, weekends, early mornings, in between, when I did get breaks at work, I, had my laptop, go sit in a cafe and study the charts, study my strategy, watch YouTube videos. I believed that if you studied hard enough, you would get the information, and then, success would follow. It's kind of how my career had gone. I'd worked hard, and always, if I set my mind on something, I got it. I was used to that. So trading really hit me differently, because I wanted this freedom, but I just couldn't get it because I kept getting stuck in this way. But the other thing I constantly also had was this constant feeling of fear and doubt. Even when I wasn't trading, I just felt like I had no confidence in myself to be able to do this. I constantly felt fearful that I'd never figure it out. I had so much doubt. I had very little self-belief. And there was a point when I was trading Tesla stocks and I had a great morning. It was one of those mornings where the price just kind of kept going up. I was trading long. I think a lot of it was luck, but I had 4 wins that morning. A lot of it was luck because my rules weren't that clear, like when to get out of a trade wasn't that clear. But on this morning, when I made a certain amount of profit, I just got out, and I did that 4 times. And I felt elated afterwards. I was like, this is it. I can now trade. I can extract money from the market. I had a great morning. And then in the afternoon, I turned up and I did everything I shouldn't have done. And that was my realization of like, something's got to change because I can never be successful at this if I can't control myself, if I can't figure out the psychology thing, because we've all heard that it's psychology, it's discipline. But unless you understand what that means, because I knew that it was psychology and discipline, I didn't know how to get it. I was like, I don't know what is wrong and I don't know how to fix it, but I have to find a way. And I think that's when my real kind of search, that was my realization moment, that something different has to work. And I suppose I was a bit lucky because I had done a lot of coaching and done training on the coaching side. And coaching it's not therapy, it's not mentorship, it sits in the middle, but it's conversations to problem solve. And ultimately, it's conversations to transform you, to grow you as a person. And it gives you the confidence, the self-belief. That's kind of the area it's in. I knew how to do that in my corporate job, but I didn't really understand how it worked for trading. That was the missing link. So that's my moment. And hopefully you're starting to have your own moments, because it's when you get off that freeway of just going around and searching for strategies and thinking all your answers are on the charts. You need to kind of take the turn off and start in parallel working on yourself. And that's what we're doing now. So I just want to check that everything is working. We've got a warning on the bit rate. I don't know what that means. Okay, fine. So we need to grow as traders. So you need to spend time in the charts. You need to learn your strategy. You need to be really clear about it. But we also now know that we need to grow as people, because the reason we're stuck, as we went through in the first session of the series, is that when you trade, when you get to that, trading is uncertainty. And when you get to uncertainty, that is out of your comfort zone. And if you don't have the self belief, the self-trust, the self-confidence, the strength, the mental strength, the mindset, the mental fortitude, the hardiness, then getting out of a comfort zone is incredibly, it's a terrible experience, and your emergency brain pulls on the brakes and you panic. And panic is FOMO, it's fear trading, or fear sitting on the side. It's revenge trading. That's what panic looks like in the markets. Now, trading is uncertainty. So as you know, with probabilities, and I'm assuming we've all read Mark Douglas's book, Trading in the Zone, where if you've tested your strategy and you've got a 60% win rate, okay, that's a very high win rate. I think a lot of people, when you're doing your back testing, you think 60, 70, 80% is a normal win rate. If you can consistently do a 60% win rate in live markets, you're like a top trader, right? So let's just say your win rate is 60%. We know that over a series of 100 trades, 60 times those trades will win, 40 times they won't win. But on each individual trade, you have a 50-50% chance. Anything could happen, okay? We have to accept that as traders, anything could happen on any single trade. Now that's uncertainty, but you've got to be willing to take the risk. You've got a certain dollar amount of risk, and when your setup occurs, you are willing to place the bet and take the risk and see if this trade works out, as long as you followed your rules. Now that uncertainty kicks off a huge panic response in our brains, because the risk to us is that we're wrong, even though that makes no sense if you accept the uncertainty and the probability that anything could happen in each trade. So the underlying, if you get back to the reality of it, is you're not accepting that risk, that you're not accepting that anything could happen 100%. Now, how do we start doing that? The first thing we have to start doing is being okay to be a little bit uncomfortable, to be in that uncertainty phase, because you can't logically apply anything could happen. You can't apply those kind of thoughts when your emergency brain is kicking in with panic. That is why fear, FOMO, revenge trading override anything else. So you might have just read Trading in the Zone and go, yep, in any single trade, I'm willing to accept that anything could happen. Go to the charts, and that goes out of your head because your panic brain has kicked in and gone, I don't like this. Let's take you back to safety. Let's do some FOMO and revenge trading and do everything you haven't planned to do. Okay. That is what's actually happening. So our entire process here, so that we can just follow our rules with a logical brain and apply the stuff that we've learned and we know. So that's your strategies, as well as information from books like Trading in the Zone. You have to calm down this panic brain that kicks in, and to do that, we need to look at psychology and mindset. Now, what we actually need to do, what that is saying, psychology and mindset, fix your psychology and mindset. It means get strong, grow, become a strong person with a strong mindset, with a strong willpower, with hardiness, with strength, with inner strength, with resilience. That's what we need to do. We need to have self-belief, trust, and confidence. Now, these are all the things I was lacking when I had that overriding, just constant feeling of fear and doubt and lack of self-confidence. So how do we get that? Well, we need to go on these two journeys. So last week we looked at goals and how goals play a role in growing as a person, so that you can get more confident in that, outside your comfort zone, in the space of uncertainty, right? I had some questions over the week about this goal setting. So I've done another webinar on my channel, and I've also done a guide. So let me know in the comments if you can't find that webinar, or if you, because when you find the webinar, you find the guide. Let me know, I'll send it to you. But it just explains in far more detail. It's like a webinar completely for just goal setting and why it works, because I think understanding why we need to do some of these things helps you to do it. I think that's why, if you don't understand, fix your psychology, get discipline. If you don't understand the underlying scientific reasons of why that's not working, very hard to fix it. And I was stuck there. I was like, kind of knew, like, oh, you need discipline, you need fix your psychology and your mindset. I had no idea, like, apart from knowing that was what was holding me back, I didn't understand why, like the underlying reasons. So that's what we're doing now. We're actually like getting to the what's actually going on with your body, because this is all biological. The reason you're stuck as a trader is just biological, and we're humans, so we have to figure this out. Now, there's two journeys you go on. You need to go on. We're going in the same direction. Okay. The one is the real journey. Now, this is the growth you need to start doing. Now, if you're following the series, you're already 2 weeks into this topic. Believe it or not, you're already been sending new messages to your brain. Slowly, you're starting to have these like realizations. The real journey can be a little bit slow because you have to be aware of certain things that you are thinking, feeling, and then the way you're behaving, and then you need to reflect and start to think differently. So you've already started that journey if you've been following this series of the Trader's Journal. And your brain will slowly start making these connections and working it out, and you will, as you start applying this, you will start getting over time the confidence and the belief and the self-trust that you need. Over a certain number of time, if you keep telling your brain the right things, this transformation will happen. Now, we just don't want it to take forever because you want to start making profits, right? So I'm doing these series every week, so you can speed up your process by just tuning into these and taking notes and going applying what we've had homework the last 2 weeks. Hopefully you've done that. So the more you just expose your brain that sends that panic reaction, the more you expose it to positive thinking, positive affirmations, positive, just different ways to kind of frame. You're reframing the problem for your brain. Slowly your brain will start making you feel more comfortable in those spaces, okay? So we're already speeding up that process. The second thing you can do is you can do coaching. So we do that over 6 to 10 sessions. Each session is 2 hours. So you spend about 12 to 20 hours with a coach. It doesn't have to be me, but it needs to be someone that does proper coaching. It's a two-way conversation where you're problem solving and you're growing. So it's transformational coaching. So you can look for a performance coach, transformational coach. Some people are called life coaches, success coaches. The most important thing with a coach is that it's someone that you gel with, that you have a connection with, that you can have those honest conversations with, because in those coaching sessions, it's all about you getting awareness. It speeds up the awareness part. So as soon as you're aware of something that you're thinking or a belief you have or a way you're kind of like why you have negative thoughts about yourself, so lack of confidence, sometimes you can't, I could never figure out why I lacked confidence until I did coaching, because I needed someone just holding up a mirror and throwing those kind of what they were seeing back at me so I could go, oh, that, and then I could figure it out. My brain could figure it out for me. So that's kind of what you're looking for. It's not mentorship. Mentorship is with, let's say, someone that's already trading and you're trading the same way, and you kind of are like, oh, you're talking more about technicals. So they might be like, oh, this is how I'm reading the market. Mentorship is very specific to a job. So for trading, it's going to be specific to what's going on the charts and what you're doing. If you were in a job, you'd be mentored by someone that had a similar job to you, and they would kind of show you the ropes, okay? Coaching in theory, you can be coached by anyone that they don't have to have the same job as you, because you're coaching, yourself. You're coaching your inner confidence and belief, right? It's transformational. But for trading, it's quite important that they're probably also traders, because trading is so bespoke and unique. Now, that's the one journey you can go on. There's loads of self-help books for this journey. There's loads of them. Start with something like, I like the recent one I've read is Atomic Habits by James Clear. There are so many self-help books. And as I said, this journey, the more you are just exposing your brain to start thinking differently, you're going to go on this journey. You're already on this journey. Okay. Now let's look at the second journey. This is what I call, it's tools, but it's a way to kind of fake it till you make it. We can trick our brains into, for a moment, to be cool, calm, and collected so that you can think clearly while you're trading. And these are little tools that, as you're trading, you can just calm that brain, that panic brain, long enough. That's what we want to do. Okay. And they are really important to use until you are just naturally the coolest, calmest cucumber in, on the block. That's kind of a guru that is, like, I use tools still all the time, and I've been working on this stuff for ages. I feel great about what I'm doing. I've got so much more confidence. I've got a lot of confidence and a lot of belief. I still use tools because when we're trading, this is my business. There's a lot at stake. I don't want to take the chance that because this morning I woke up and, the dog is sick, let's say, suddenly my emergency brain while I'm trading just pulls a fast one on me and flips a fuse and we go into panic mode. I just can't take that risk. I love using my tools because it makes me not have to, it makes it so much easier. So these aren't just completely fake it till you make it. They're going to be super helpful while you're going on the other journey, but you'll probably use them for a very long time, if not forever. I'm going to tell you the three that are my favorites. One is routine. Have a routine because it calms your brain. It sets you up. It gets you into the, from your personal, wake up and the dog is sick, that kind of life, to I'm now a calm, very in control trader. So a routine getting into your work is really important. I have a very set routine. I love it, and it gets me into the mode that I need to be in. Okay. Without having to overthink this, I can now just do, because you can't, self-reflection and being aware and stuff, it's also exhausting. Just this mental and mindset and psychology side of your trading day is exhausting. Even when you do not take a trade because there wasn't a trade on the charts, I will end the day and go, oh my God, I'm exhausted, because it's hard work keeping yourself this disciplined. So when I go into my private life, sometimes I'm pretty undisciplined. I kind of just, enjoy life. But I'm very controlled while I'm at work, and using routine helps you massively, massively. Okay. The second one is journaling. Journaling helps your other journey. It helps kind of get your panic thoughts out, anything that's bothering you out on a page, and it helps you kind of just do some reflection. The more you're aware and do reflection, the more you're going to grow on your other journey. Okay. So doing journaling before you trade, it's also going to help you have that end of week review, where if there's a day that you did break your rules, that you didn't behave that well on the charts, you can go and read your journal and go, actually, this is what was going on for me. Guess what? You're going to be growing and learning, and that's going to fuel the other side, the other journey. So journaling, but journaling properly, is really, really important. Okay. And if you don't know how to journal properly, and by properly, I mean to support your growth of mindset and psychology. So if your journaling is, I opened the trade at $2.02, closed it 2 minutes later. If it's technical stuff you're journaling, you're really wasting your time. Start journaling about your inner journey. Start journaling about what you're thinking, what you're feeling, because that's going to inform how you behave, and then you can connect the dots later during your review. Okay. And number 3, I'm going to start introducing these things, as we haven't talked about this one before, so I'm going to put it out there. And your homework for the week is to go and research this, to look into a way that you can incorporate this into your daily routine. But number 3 is meditation. Okay, we need to start meditating. Now, my suggested recommendation is to meditate for 10 minutes before you start trading. So after you've done your journal, meditate for 10 minutes. And then while you're trading, if you have any awareness of things, step back and take a 90-second just meditation. Now, I call it meditation. You can also call this reflection. You can call this just quiet time. Meditation is a huge, huge tool. It's a great tool that you have to almost learn to meditate. You have to learn to reflect. Don't force it. Don't try and control it. Just quiet 10 minutes. Even if you can't quieten your brain, you can write that in your journal and it tells you something about your current state. Okay, this is all going to help journey one, your real journey, your real growth. But meditation is amazing. And the thing you can meditate on, so last week we talked about goal setting, and I'm talking about big goals. Make sure that you find the webinar I did this week on why you need to set inspirational goals. Gosh, my color's going a bit funny in my office. Why to set inspirational goals. It's really important to set big goals. Why is it so dark? But when you set these big goals, you can use them to meditate. Okay, so when you have those 10 minutes, you have those 90 seconds, you can start visualizing those goals. Visualize yourself having achieved those goals. Okay, that's very, very powerful for your real growth, for your real journey, to start seeing yourself in that future state, in that state where you've achieved all your goals. Very, very powerful to, after a meditation like that, to go into trading with confidence. Okay, it can give you confidence long enough that fake it till you make it. That's what it can do for you. And then when you lose that feeling, then you can go back and do another reflection. Think about your future goal. Think about you specifically in your future goal. Imagine you having achieved whatever your future goal is, your big goal, how you look, how you think, how you breathe. Okay, you want to put yourself in your future avatar during these meditations, and then that will give you a great feeling of confidence, of self-belief, long enough to use that to trade without massive panic overtaking you. That's kind of what we're trying to get to. Okay, so I'm going to leave you there. That's your homework for this week. I'll see you next week, and we're going to dive even